Seattle, lots of people work in tech or have past experience in tech. And so there are some business owners that have worked before for Microsoft or Google or something else. So obviously they have that advantage that they're more familiar with technology. But generally, the person who has a small shop, a restaurant or some sort of retail operation, they're not so familiar with technology. And so adoption is slow because they're not sure how to do it.
Hi, my name is Demetri Panici, and I'm a content creator, agency owner, and AI enthusiast. You're listening to the AI Agents Podcast, brought to you by Jotform, and featuring our very own CEO and founder, Ida Tank. This is the show where artificial intelligence meets innovation, productivity, and the tools shaping the future of work. Enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the AI Agents Podcast. In this episode, we have Alejandro Gil from Synvia. How are you doing, Alejandro? I was going to say Synvia AI. There's always an AI or a something at the end of product names. It was force of habit. How are you doing today, Alejandro?
Doing great, Demetri. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yeah. Welcome to the show. I really appreciate you for making the time. And just to kind of kick things off, I think everyone would kind of like to hear, what your background is and how you got into this realm of AI.
Well, I got involved with AI very early on in my career.
Okay.
With a startup back in 2003. And at the time, I didn't even know I was doing AI. But I've always had this sense of automation because of that. And so when the Gen AI came out and clearly saw that things were going to change forever, and then thought, well, I need to actually do something about it. And that's where we are now.
No, it's very cool. And what was your kind of starting point for getting into what you're doing right now with Synvia? And I guess also, talk about that lead up itself and then explain what necessarily Synvia does.
Yeah, so the starting point was that I saw, everybody was looking into how do we apply Gen AI, like looking at different processes. How do we optimize this process? How do we improve this process? Automate this and that? And I realized that, yes, everybody's looking at kind of vertical type of applications, and everybody's looking into, well, I want to do this in my company, or I want to do this in my company. But why will your automation processes end at your company's business door? Why not automate something that goes across to your suppliers or to your customers? And
Fair enough.
I realized that nobody was talking about, like, first you had Gen AI, then you had agents, and everybody was very excited about agents. And I thought, well, agents are great, but they need to talk to each other. And I want to actually be involved in that because I think that's the next big thing. And based on my past experience working in sales, I saw lots of opportunities for agents working from different companies, from a supplier to a vendor. And that's how I got started.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And, just talk a little bit more about, who you're trying to serve, right? Every company kind of has who are we trying to serve? What specifically are we going after in regards to, clients and whatnot? Who are you really trying to reach with Synvia?
Today, I'm trying to reach small businesses, small and medium businesses, helping. We are all, search is changing. And people are using now AI assistants like ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever you're using to search for things.
Sure.
Even when you search on Google, now you don't get the long list of links. You just get the Google AI answer, which is one. And so what I'm doing is helping small and medium businesses sell to this new paradigm, which is AI agents acting as buyers. And ultimately, what Synvia is doing is agent-to-agent commerce, and it could be used for lots of different things. You could even use it on for example, B2B supply chain type of a environment. But that's not where we're looking at right now. Our first goal is to work with small and medium businesses where we see an urgent and desperate need and to increase sales and drive traffic to these businesses that are struggling competing with Amazon, for example.
And why necessarily is this going to be something that specifically can help, those companies that are, I guess, struggling? I think there's a lot of different products out there, and what kind of gives you a special sauce, so to speak, that the other ones don't have?
Well, the key concept behind Synvia is the idea that removing intermediaries from from the picture, removing intermediaries
Okay.
so that businesses can connect directly with AI agents. I am focused on open source, decentralized approach to implementing the commerce rails for agents. And I think that the key thing that differentiates Synvia from other companies that are trying to do something similar is that this is all being built really without a lock-in and with the focus on giving the best option for a business and and allowing them to, you know, if they don't like what I'm doing, they could switch to somebody else. I'm actually building it, and we're building it in a way that is completely unlocked. And so I think that's a key differentiation here, that we're not trying to build a new walled garden. We're actually trying to remove all the walled gardens that are preventing businesses from connecting directly with you.
Well, can you talk a little bit more about decentralized, I guess in general, and what it means as a concept? Because honestly, for me, I think I kind of get it, but in this space, one, what is it? And two, why would it be important in comparison to to the alternative, I guess?
Yes, yes. Well, what it is really the idea that um, uh, I want lots of different agents acting as buyers. I want anybody to be able to create
Okay.
their own buying agent and be able to in a decentralized merchant network. Anybody can build an agent and access the network and then start looking at information about businesses, their products, their service catalog, and place an order. You don't need permission in order to place an order. That's the key thing. When you
Sure.
go into a system like, like a proprietary system, you first need to register with that system, and then if they approve you, then you will be able to place orders. That's what we are doing differently.
Interesting. Okay. And you know, with what you are doing, I guess, what are some of the roadblocks that as a earlier stage company you've kind of come into while building what you are?
Well, the main roadblock is that we're really building a marketplace. We're building tools
Okay.
for businesses to expose themselves, to present their product catalog to AI agents, and AI agents can find that information and place orders. But I do need to bring the AI agents, the actual buyers, to the picture as well. With no demand, the supply doesn't help to have a lot of supply, and if there's no demand, and so it's always a chicken and egg problem when you're building something like this. And it would be great to be able to plug myself into a ChatGPT, for example, so that people using ChatGPT immediately have the information of all the businesses that I'm onboarding, but that's not going to happen. And so my main challenge is how do I drive that demand outside of ChatGPT, for example?
Well, I mean, all of these different agents that you're trying to build, right? Where do you even begin from? Like, what's your
Hmm.
source of finding out like what
Yeah.
ones you think would even be useful, right? I feel like that's a
Yes.
hard thing to do if you're in that your position.
Yeah. Well, technically, I'm not building any AI agent. What I'm doing is what Synvia is doing is building the tools for businesses to publish information and make it available to AI agents. And so
Oh,
if you
okay,
are a
okay, okay.
business,
Now I'm getting.
yes, excited. So if you're a business, I publish information. And if you're developing an AI agent or if you have an AI agent, you can find that information and place an order with my customers. Now, as I was saying earlier, I mean, I do need to create some AI agents to show the businesses how this works, to kind of jumpstart the ecosystem. And that's what I'm doing right now, for example, in locally with my community. So we have a Shop Snow Valley in Advesos campaign going on right now, where I've created an AI concierge for the local community so that they can find local shops and place orders from them directly.
And yes, okay, yeah, you're even like a step before. I apologize. So
Mhm.
being that step before, right? Where do you go to find the data? Like not the data, sorry. Where do you go to find the ideas for what data to aggregate in order for these agents to be made? I guess like what is your source of truth as to like, oh, I think we should get this data and this data and this data.
Well, the source of truth right now is, let's say, a business joins Synvia, and we will get the information from the product catalog, whether it's through Square or Shopify, or if it's a restaurant, say, for example, Toast, that kind of a system, and then publish that information in this open merchant-owned network. Uh, and so the first step is to publish as much information there and set it up so that then agents can access that same network, see the product catalog, place an order, and then that order arrives to the merchant. Um, and so for me, the source of truth right now is coming from the current system of record of the business.
Okay.
Ultimately, I would like the source of truth to actually be this open merchant-owned network. Uh, you publish there once, and you can sell to any AI agent, regardless of who built the agent, regardless of who is operating the agent, and where is that agent.
Okay. And what, I guess, kind of companies primarily do you think are coming to you for this marketplace?
Right now is small businesses. Um, the pandemic,
Sorry, just to
yeah,
double tap on it a little bit more. Like, what industries do you think more? I know obviously the small business is kind of a wide
yes,
term, and what I find more interesting is like whenever I go on these interviews, is I get a lot of
mm,
different question or answers in regards to industry, and I always find
yeah.
it pretty interesting. Like for some reason, every marketplace or company itself is trying to go after a different industry. So yeah,
Yes.
what kind of industry specifically do you find most consistently you've been working with, and they're coming to
So,
you?
mm, industries like, for example, restaurants and
Mm,
businesses offering some sort of services. So this resonates. My message resonates very well with companies that are trying to get new customers in, like what they said, tourists or people who are visiting, and what do they do when they are around here? How do they find that out? So they're all going to be using AI to find out, okay, what do I do when I'm visiting this town, or what do I do when I'm coming to Seattle or whatever you're coming to? And so the services industry, whether it's restaurants or experiences, they actually work really well with this. And I'm already starting with some retail businesses as well, but the
sure.
first step is the services industry.
And services are an interesting one, right? Because I find everyone has a different goal for what does the AI agent necessarily do. Whether it's just going to be removing a task, or in some cases, it could be removing a job. What are you finding that small business owners are primarily trying to get out of the agents that they're going to build?
Well, small business owners, I mean, what in my case, what they're coming for me is not because I'm giving them an agent, but because I'm giving
Yeah,
them the
the
way
information. Yeah,
to sell to an agent. And so when you pull up your ChatGPT, for example, or whatever AI assistant you have, um, and say, I need a restaurant that has good gluten-free options, open past 8 p.m. Within 5 miles, and that the AI assistant is going to look for that. Um, and so that's why some of these businesses are coming to me, so that they can actually pop up on that search, and your AI assistant says, well, this restaurant has great reviews from gluten-free people. You should give it a try. It's 3 miles away. Would you like me to make a reservation? And then you can say yes, and the system will go ahead and make the reservation. And so that's a primary reason why businesses will come to me. I mean, in general, small and medium businesses that are still trying to figure out how to use AI on their own internally in their own internal processes. I was just at a mm, chamber lunch yesterday,
okay.
and that was a theme of the lunch. Like an AI expert trying to explain to small businesses how does he use in his own small business AI mm, to make him more efficient, more productive.
Yeah, and I guess when you're at something like that, what is the vibe that you're getting on adoption level among small businesses? Obviously, you want it to be 100%, right? But like for your case, but what do you feel like the percentage adoption wise that you're seeing is at? Whether I mean that's probably like a multiple part question. Like one, how much of adoption are you seeing, and how like effective is the adoption that you're seeing?
Low, like very low adoption right now. People are
Double
still
low, or so low on a both?
low on the adoption, and in terms of effective, I mean, the ones who are using it, maybe that I would say like medium effective. I mean, the area where I live is a little bit unusual. I mean, being in Seattle, lots of people work in tech or have past experience in tech, and so there are some business owners that have worked before for Microsoft or have worked before for Google or something else, and so obviously they have that advantage that they're more familiar with technology. But generally, the person who has a small shop, a restaurant or some sort of retail operation, they're not so familiar with technology, and so adoption is low because they're not sure how to do it. They're not sure. Okay, is my data going to be not public, or public? Somebody else going to see my data, or do I have copyright? Can I use a picture that I create with an AI and in my website without getting in trouble? I mean, some very basic questions
Those
that
are really basic questions.
unless they have a clear answer, they're not going to go forward because it's just daunting.
And how does that, from your perspective, lead to, struggles doing what you're trying to do, right? Like, because
Well,
I can imagine the better the adoption, I'm sure the better that it'll be for your marketplace.
mhm. Well, I mean, that's why, for example, Synvia is not called Synvia AI, because when I
Yep.
approach businesses, this is not about selling you AI. This is about bringing you new customers, bringing you a new avenue to customers, or helping you maintain your customers, because it's like the transition from brick and mortar to e-commerce. It's not that you went there because now there are a new set of customers. They're not your customers, have moved to e-commerce, and so you need to move with them to be able to continue reaching and selling to them. And so that's what I tell them. Like, your customers are moving to buy not from a website, but from a different medium, an app, an AI assistant, and I'm giving them the tools for that. I'm not selling them AI. I'm selling them a path to connect with new customers or maintain their connection with existing customers.
So would you say, so it's a pretty interesting decision that you made there. You, it seems like, would feel like in the people you're trying to go after are avoiding the branding of AI because it could be almost considered as a mental turnoff to this, opportunity for your
Absolutely.
leads. Yeah, so speak to that like a little bit more about the turnoff, because I find that interesting, right? You're like in this space trying to make a marketplace and you actively are avoiding the branding. Talk more about that.
Yes. Well, as I was saying earlier, we live in a bubble where we like, whether it's
I do.
because
Yeah, we do.
yes, like my neighbors, they, as I said, they work for Google or Meta or Anthropic or OpenAI or Microsoft, and so we kind of have this knowledge about AI and what's going on, and fully understand it. But when you walk outside of that, when you go to Main Street, most people don't really understand what AI really means or how it's going to change things like 2, 3 years from now.
Sure.
Uh, and it's just something that is like scary, daunting, especially when you own a business and you think the implications, not just like you stop somebody on the street and say, "Hey, what do you think about AI?" And they might have an opinion. But when you own a small business, that it's already hard to survive, to make it and pay the bills and pay your employees and everybody at the end of the month. Everything it's a burden in terms of adding new things into your operational flow. And so AI is just daunting and scary, and too many unknowns for them. And so it's easier to go in saying, well, this is what I'm going to do for your bottom line. This is what I'm going to do to help your business do better. And if I'm using AI in the back end, that's not relevant. I'm not selling AI. I'm selling a solution to the problem, which is I need more customers. I need more money.
That's a very good point. I think I probably myself am in a bubble. As you'd imagine, running a podcast about AI. Generally speaking, you only surround yourself with people who are AI founders or pro AI, right? And yeah, I think that's totally fair. So what would you say has been, obviously it seems like you're showing them the value proposition before getting into the actual, I guess, fact that it is AI. But what are some of the like key breakthroughs that you've had with companies in order to take them from that position of not really being sure with AI to having a practical positive impact on their company?
Well, I think the main thing that um, has helped in kind of a turning conversations is
Yeah,
um, the fact that I'm building this from a perspective of I'm not trying to lock you in, like I'm not trying to move you from one mm, problem, which is having to work with Google, to another problem now having to work with me. And so it's like the whole point of this is that you will now operate in an open environment. And if you don't like how I'm doing things, you don't need to throw away things. You can continue operate with this new system, and somebody else can actually build a similar process. And so once you position yourself as, I'm not trying to move you from one trap to another one, but I'm actually just trying to help to bring down barriers, and by doing that, helping you sell more, that changes the conversation a lot. And that's why I also started with local businesses, because if you're involved in your community, then it's so much easier to actually gain the trust of the businesses from your community, and work with them to understand this is what we're doing. And so I work with chambers of commerce, for example, who, let's say, understand more easily what the problem is. And then through the chamber of commerce, they can introduce me to other businesses within the chamber. And so that step is what actually has helped to kind of build relationship with some of the customers.
Hmm. No, it's an interesting point. Um, I am wondering then, right? How do you think on a general level we can take this group of individuals who are not in the bubble, and not saying bring them into the bubble necessarily, but bring them into the purview of not seeing at a mass scale, I don't mean individual by individual, not seeing it as an operational, issue or confusion or anything like that. How can we bring them into the fold and make them feel like, yeah, this is a great addition to what's going on and is a positive thing naturally? Because I'd imagine systemically you need to solve this in order for there to be like critical mass of small business not viewing it as this nefarious kind of concerning extra thing that could throw a wrench in their business.
Well, I think it's just delivering value. At the end, what a business is looking for, or what we as individuals are looking for in general, is something that will make our lives easier or better. And so, for me, if in order to get small businesses and let's say Main Street more accepting of AI technologies, the key thing is not to try to sell them AI technology, but try to deliver value, and then that value, they they will understand that, well, that value has been delivered with tools, including AI tools, and that's when they'll say, okay, well, I guess this is not so bad. Um, that I think that's a key thing. If you try to just sell AI for the sake of AI, that's not going to go anywhere. And ultimately, I think it's all about delivering value, and that value gets executed through whatever it is, and that's what they will appreciate.
So do you think just over time it's going to be like value, 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 value that they are getting from a variety of different people maybe, and then at some point it hits like critical mass where then there's like word of mouth between these small businesses or something like that?
Absolutely. Like, for example, I know like quite a few of the small businesses that are trying to understand how can they use AI to automate their social media campaigns, to automate their how they manage customers. And so some of them understand that, oh, this could help me, and then they're
Sure.
willing to go through the trouble of implementing some processes, AI processes, to actually achieve that goal, which is spend less time in social media and more time with my customers, for example. Um, and so that, then yes, that will move through word of mouth. Um, mm, you can, if a friend who's running a business tells you, hey, I was able to implement this and it does save me an hour every day, or it saves me not having to spend the nights doing social media instead of now I can spend it with my family, which is what many business owners do. I mean, they're running the business during the day, and then they get home, and then they start doing all the extra stuff that needs to be done, all the back end stuff. Um, and so as those things get implemented, and they see those benefits, definitely word of mouth will actually drive much of that option.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally fair. And what companies right now do you feel like on, an agentic side that obviously I know you're more on the information provider side, but are there any like generally speaking AI agent companies or AI companies in general that you feel like are doing it right to showcase the perceived value right now? Because I actually feel, if there is such this gap, right, that companies aren't doing it incredibly well, in my opinion, or maybe there's just like general skepticism in industries. What companies do you feel like are doing a good job of spreading the word and providing value through that?
Um, well, I mean, most of the companies that I see, yeah, they just focus on, the new AI way of doing this, the new AI way of doing that. Um, I have seen, and I'm trying to remember now the name of the company, but I have seen some companies that were, for example, they offer consulting services to automate processes, and they focus on delivering certain outcome. And so I've seen the the companies that I see that are doing it right, and I'm blanking out on the name of this one company that I'm thinking
That's
about here
okay.
that is in Seattle. But they do that. They say, well, we're going to focus on outcomes, and that's how they've been able to be successful. So definitely, I mean, there's a lot of hype and a lot of people say, well, we're using AI to do this, we're using AI to do that, and at the end, it's well, just tell me what you're doing. I don't need to know how the sausage is made.
Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. There's a lot of people who, even in like sales, you'll notice this as well. And I think it's quite interesting that you're focusing on this with the outcome. On sales, people are like, oh, I'll show them my whole process. I'll show them XYZ thing that I'm doing, the how, the how, the how, the how. I think if you just tell somebody like, hey, I can make it so that it takes 20, 30 minutes a week instead of 30 hours a
Mhm.
month in order to produce your social media content. Someone's going to react to that. Doesn't really matter. Now, it does practically matter for the person doing it, but for the person you're reaching, I don't think they necessarily would care.
Yeah, it's just another tool.
Yeah. And I just out of curiosity, because some of the examples you gave are more brick and mortar, kind of like physical locations. Yeah, would you say that there is a decent mix of brick and mortar physical companies as well as, I guess, your more knowledge work type of environments? Because as you said, we're in a bubble. And I think when you're in this bubble, you primarily, for some reason, only think of the standard sort of like brick and mortar, or sorry, the standard knowledge work company, like marketing agency or like
Mhm.
um, finance company, or like any of the things where it's like person's at desk typing, right? But you mentioned restaurants, right? And what do you think? I guess my question is, do you think that there's a gap in the market right now for AI agents helping brick and mortar companies?
Um, I think so. Yes. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I understand why it's natural to start with knowledge uh, companies, so to say, where there's a rich data sets, and so there's a very easy, obvious target where you can actually go and automate some processes and or use have an agent to harmonize and coordinate different activities. And but definitely there at the end, every business, even a brick and mortar business or restaurant, has employees, like back end processes, HR, accounting, you name it, website, so everybody has some sort of digital footprint, and so there's definitely an opportunity to automate that process. And even if you think of something as simple as um, AI agents for real estate um, agents. So that's a very
Sure.
that is something that well you have a one man show, maybe a woman, and that's the person who is doing all the work. And so if you can equip that person with an agent or a couple of agents that help in manage the whole process from looking for new leads, managing existing customers, monitoring existing deals, helping draft proposals. There are lots of things that you can do to empower and make that one person operation significantly more productive. And so there's definitely opportunities. Just that as we are looking at as an industry and even the venture capital environment
Yeah.
wants to attack kind of like those target rich environments. And so venture always thinks like, well, if you can sell this to a knowledge company, that's awesome. But they're not so keen on saying, well, I can make this suite of agents that is going to make a real estate agent super productive. And normally ventures like, oh, I don't know so much about that. I mean, not that they don't think that they will work, but they just think that it's going to be too much work if you have to sell to each agent, real estate agent that's going around there. And so they prefer a situation where you can target big companies or medium companies where, you get one customer and you significant amount of money.
Yeah. And I think that is a fair, thing, right? And I guess just on a level of like the ethos of your company, why are you going for smaller businesses more so than larger ones?
It's just love of community. I think everybody kind of forgets about the small and medium businesses, and that's what makes the place where you live great or not great. And
Yeah, emphasis on maybe the not great part sometimes. Yeah, that's a good point. You have the
yeah,
local pizza joints suck. I mean, then you're just stuck with Domino's.
yeah,
Not that I don't like Domino's, all right, but you get my point.
yes, yes. And so I just think that most people forget about them, but that's what gives the spirit and the place where you grew up or where you're
No,
living
that's a
right now.
really good point. And by the way, just for your background, I mean, obviously you have a little bit of an accent. Now you live in Seattle, and it doesn't sound like you're from Seattle. Where are you originally from again?
I'm from Spain.
Spain. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's amazing. You're coming and trying to help small businesses, obviously probably in the States and globally as well. Have you noticed that there's any difference in regards to the market on like the US side versus the European side of things in regards to adoption or anything like that?
Um, well, like this summer, for example, I was back in Spain, in my hometown,
Uh huh. For
Malaga,
sure.
and I have some friends that work with businesses, like trying to promote uh, technology exchange and how to promote the deployment of technology into small businesses. So I was actually talking with some of my friends
Oh, very cool.
that work in that space, and obviously the cultures are different, but the struggles in terms of small business kind of tend
The
to be
same.
the same. Uh,
Yeah.
the, the situation here in US is slightly unique in the sense that the ability that Amazon has to put something at your door within 4 hours is unmatched, and you don't
Incredible.
see that. Yes, and you don't see that in Europe. Um, there are some last mile companies that are trying to work for Amazon, but the experience when buying from Amazon in Europe is completely different because it's Amazon doesn't own the operations. There's
Wait,
subcontract
can you
to.
speak to this? This is actually very important. A lot of people don't know how this works with Amazon's ops.
Yeah. So, uh, Amazon in Spain, for example, I see it from my experience. My parents telling me how things are going. When they order a package from Amazon, you need to choose where it's going to be delivered, and you need to think carefully about that because are you going to be home or are you not going to be home? If you're not going to be home, many people in Spain live in apartment buildings, so then they won't give you a package. They will take it back with them. Uh, They
Yeah.
won't just leave the package at the door. And so if you're not gonna be home, then you need to choose, well, I want to deliver to this other place. And it's not gonna be maybe a grocery store that has a deal with Amazon and some lockbox, or is it gonna be a something else? Maybe it's a business that is trying to make money on the side. And so the whole distribution and process is a patchwork of companies. And just because Amazon hasn't tried to build the same vertical integration in Europe as it has here in US.
Yeah. So I feel like you did a great job explaining necessarily like the issues there. And I think first and foremost, yeah, for those of you that don't know from the States, like it's just not a thing that even not only in Spain, I know this is the same case in France. I've heard stories of, similar types of things across the board. In Europe, could you explain the difference, I guess, from a owning it vertically standpoint in the States as to how Amazon does own that vertically? Are you familiar with that process?
Well, I mean, what I can tell, I mean, I'm not a distribution or logistics expert, but
Yeah.
obviously, the having those warehouses and distribution centers is spread so broadly. As I said, you can order something and get it within 4 hours. in my case, at my door, I can order something from Amazon, and within 4 hours, it can be there. And most of the time, it's like, well, it will be overnight, but if I really want it within 4 hours, I can get some stuff just because there's a distribution center that is not that far away from me. Um, and so that it's no small business can compete with that. And the best that you can do is to see, well, I know that I'm looking for some shoes, and now I know that the store 2 blocks away from my house has them in stock, the size that I want, the color that I want, so I can place an order and I will pick them up later on. And I can walk by or drive by or whatever it is to pick up those shoes. And but it's definitely it's unless a small business is willing to start paying extra for that distribution, like to your house, that's not going to be there. And the reality is that Amazon has done a great job at building that vertical integration and managing the costs for that. Like nobody else can compete from a cost perspective with how they actually deliver things to your house.
Y- Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's funny. A lot of people don't realize this. We'll go back to AI in a second. I just find it fascinating. Like, I live in a big city. I live in Chicago. But where I am from originally is like a suburb of Chicago, more on the south side. Due to my history in athletics, technically anyone can find where I grew up, so it shouldn't even be. It's always funny. I used to like run college track and cross country, and sometimes I'm like, do I want to tell people like the town I'm from? Technically, if you Google me, you'll figure it out. So it's not that hard. But the funny thing is, from my own hometown, across the street from where I went to high school, they opened up an Amazon distribution center. So it was the weirdest experience when my parents, right, started getting deliveries within a few minutes. I remember the first time my mom had this happen, she basically goes, "This isn't right." I audibly remember her going, "This isn't right." And when it's so good you can't believe it, you can't compete with that as a small company.
No,
So
no,
all
you
that is
cannot.
to say is I really value the fact that you care so much that you're like, yeah, I would like to make an impact on small companies because frankly, they're swimming with ankle weights right now in this world because obviously Amazon's making great progress in all of these different AI areas. And small businesses can be the fastest to adopt, but they also, if they're not open to it and they're unaware of it, will be the slowest to adopt and the non-adopters at all. So I think it's very admirable, all of you.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get us, I mean, we're at a decent point to ask some of the final questions. Where do you feel like this AI agent market is going to practically affect the job market in the next couple of years? How do you think it's going to impact jobs, growth, loss of job? What do you think?
I think it will definitely uh, have an impact, like a negative impact on jobs. I know every, everybody says, well, you have like every new technology, some jobs disappear and some new jobs come up. I think the level of automation that we're seeing from AI, uh, mm, you're not going to be in a situation where, let's say I don't think you can replace all the jobs that are going to go away. Um, and it definitely empowers you to be more productive and do more on your own. And so if you are an entrepreneur, I mean, in spirit, not necessarily that you own or you have a business, but even if you're entrepreneurial in spirit, with AI, you can actually do things, and you can go much farther than you could 3 years ago. But most people are not like that. Uh, and so that's something that worries me. And I remember some of the reactions that I've had, from people when I tell them what I'm doing, and I say, "Well, this is the first thing that I actually hear a positive application for AI." I think people are very worried about, yes, which is rushing to automate as much as we can, and but it is going to be a real issue because you're not going to need a team of 20 lawyers helping you prepare cases in a law form. You're gonna need significantly less people because now you can do so much research with AI.
Which I think is beneficial. I do have struggles with like if it does negatively impact the job market. But part of me also thinks that there could be an adjustment. I mean, this happens oftentimes in business.
Mhm.
There could be adjustment in the way we work more than the amount of jobs, right?
I, I think so. I mean, we've for decades we've been promised that we're going to be more productive. You're gonna have more free time. You're going to be able to work less.
Yeah, I mean, outside
And
of the remote work adjustment, I feel like, we hit like 40-hour work week theory in like, I don't know, the 50s or whatever. And then like it's been the same thing
yeah,
for the
yeah,
same. It's like, yeah, sure, we commute less, right? But that happened 5 years ago. This is like a
yes.
5-year-old thing. It's not really, you know what I mean? So,
I I think there's an opportunity for AI. I mean, if done right, there's an opportunity for it to have a tremendous positive impact in society. I just don't know if, as a society, we can actually do this in a way that is okay. We're going to do it for the right reasons and in the right way. Um, and so we'll see. But yes, I mean, it could be that everything ends up where you can work less and you can still be equally productive. And so why not? Maybe it's 30 hours of work per week, or maybe it's like 25 because your AI is helping you so much. Um, or maybe you have a significant, like more businesses of smaller sizes. And
yeah, I think
w-
that's my hope, right? Because
Mhm.
I honestly don't think, I don't think in the States we're going to get the whole like esoteric, oh, we're not going to work much
Yeah.
thing. I just don't think it's going to happen. It's just not the nature of the States.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. It's pie in the sky, honestly, for the like the ethos of the country, or not the ethos, but the work vibe of the country, the work
Yeah, it's
culture,
culture. It's a
right?
culture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just the work culture is just not like, I feel like if it was, this isn't a dig on them, by the way. This is just what I've observed. Like France, I could see it happening.
Mhm.
Like, it's not a dig on France. This is the way that I've seen they have tried to do like 4-day work weeks, and like 30, they changed it from 40 hours to 35 hours, and they want to move it to
Mhm.
30 hours. Like, I'll refrain from making, I'm Greek, but I'll refrain from commenting more on what they'll do with their work week. But there's a lot of funny jokes to be made there. No, I just think the American work culture is a little bit more like, let's get the most out of our week,
Yes.
and
Yes,
and
I
not
think
change
so.
the time. Yeah, so I think they'll
Yeah.
squeeze the optimization to be like more innovation, more innovation, more innovation. And I think there's benefits to that, and maybe we'll move to 30. But like practically, one of my favorite articles I've ever read was written in the 19, I always forget the date, which is ironic because I quote it all the time. It's called In Praise of Idleness. Have you ever heard of this?
No, I haven't.
Okay, In Praise of
Impressive idleness.
Idleness
I'll
was
have to look it
made
up.
by Bertrand Russell. All right. It was a 1932 essay that's post World War One. Okay. And basically, he's pointing out, hey, it's crazy. Like, we were just arbitrarily blowing each other up for the last like 6 years. It's going to be pretty chill when we get the other half of the workforce back. And, at that time, there was a lot of physical automation, and that means
Sure.
like physical in factories and stuff. And he uses the term automation a lot during this article, funny enough. And he almost speaks in the same terms everybody's speaking about AI right now, where it's like, yeah, we're going to get this improvement in XYZ area. We're not going to have worked as much because all of these things are going to get automated away. So I point to that. And then I point to, in regards to like, we don't really know if like it's going to actually decrease jobs, because it was crazy that we were able to go from physical factory workers to knowledge workers.
Mhm.
We couldn't have predicted the future there, right? On what that
No,
means.
no.
And then also, like, when the ATM got invented, there was more bank tellers because it decentralized banks, because they built more banks. So both of those things, I feel like everyone would have been like, no, we're not going to work as much. No, we're going to have less bank tellers. We don't know, dude. Who knows?
We
Like,
we 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 don't know. Yeah, we don't know. It's a um I always feel like my oldest son is a senior now, and he wants to go into the trades.
that's
And
cool. Yeah.
and I'm thinking, well, yeah, then the next one, I still have 4 years before the first one who actually wants to go to university. I say that's good because I need to see what's going to happen in the next 4 years before, I can say, well, this career path makes sense, or that career path makes sense. And, going now into university, it has to be scary. It has to be very
I
scary
would
because
imagine. Yeah.
you don't really
I
know
would.
what's gonna
Yeah.
what's gonna be out there for years from now.
Yeah. And it's really hard. Like after college, I know people who are graduating. I mean, I'm 27, so I'm still pretty young. So I know a lot of people who are still kind of struggling to get work after college. And I don't think if I did stuff outside of my university and did like all the stuff I did with content and like automation and AI, I built like a whole skill set outside of work. So it puts you in like a special, like, oh, this guy's doing a million things. He's probably got a skill. He has a skill set. But unfortunately, a lot of people, I don't think it really should be the way where it's like, well, you got to do the million extra things in order to be like, oh yeah, we'll hire you. That's a little, it doesn't seem correct considering the amount of money you spend on a university degree.
Yeah.
Feels a little ridiculous. So I sympathize with a lot. It's difficult. I think it's a pretty universal stance. It's like, wow, it's kind of rough for people. It's kind of ridiculous. It's a $100,000 to $250,000 value proposition that doesn't really have a quick turnaround time on a job unless you're doing a million things outside of spending the $200,000 and studying. Yeah. I'm like, that's wild to me. So kudos to your son for thinking of the trades. I think it's an honorable path, and I have friends who are doing it too, and it's cool. So
well, yeah, and like I tell him, like you can. I mean, you want to be a plumber, an electrician. I mean, go for it. Just make sure that you understand that you want to have your own business. I mean, you will start learning with somebody, but ultimately just open your own business, and that's how you can actually take control of your life.
Oh yeah, dude. People who run plumbing companies, they're doing fine. They're doing just fine. Yeah. Like that. That's. I think it's really admirable in general to do trades, but yeah, you can stick to that the whole time, or you run a plumbing company and you're doing pretty good, brother. Yeah. It's a good industry to be in if you're trying to make good money, in my opinion, at least.
It is.
Yeah. All right. Well, I really appreciated the conversation, Alejandro. I guess last but not least, could you just kind of tell us a little bit about what you'd like to plug to close things out?
Well, visit our website, synvia.com. Right now, we are taking customers locally outside of Seattle. But just follow us, find me on LinkedIn, follow our company page there, and stay tuned as we actually move beyond the Seattle area.
Very cool. All right. Well, make sure to go check out synvia.com. That's synvya.com. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Please leave us a like, comment, subscribe, review, and on all the different platforms. And thank you again for watching us.
Thank you, Demetri.
See you. And thank you for being on the show, Alejandro. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.